Do you have a true scary story you'd like to send my way? Maybe a glitch in the Matrix? Well, just go to astheravendreams.com and click the big old button to do so. And of course, thank you. I've told this to my friend at least a dozen times because he wants to make sense of it, and he ultimately urged me to post it here, so maybe someone else can make sense of it. This truly shook me, and sorry for the long post, but he told me to give all of the details I told him, as do the rules. This happened on a road trip when I was 17, almost 18. It was me and my sister, a couple years older than me, and she was driving a super long beaten road through the desert. About 2 hours on the road pass, and suddenly I noticed that the car that was behind us veered off of the road and came to a standstill. My sister audibly wonders what they're up to. A few dozen seconds later, there's this terrible series of bumps and cracks in the road that shake the car and knock the phone off of the seat, taking the aux out and halting the music. It lands close to me, so I pick it up and start to reconnect the phone. When I do, we get this random catchy ad about trash. The next thing of note happens seconds after the ad ends. I stare off into the window and I see a truck parked ahead of us. As we pass it, I stupidly kept looking at it, and the sheen that it gave off, the glare from the sun, completely blinded me for a bit. When I closed my eyes, I still saw the outline of it. I was afraid that it was burned into my retinas when I finally opened my eyelids. It started to fade slowly, and all I can remember seeing after that is the emergency airbag in the car pop into my face, and the sound of metal on metal. My vision started going black, and the image that's in my eyes from the truck fades completely. But when it fades, I open my eyes to see us still driving like nothing happened. That's when I noticed the car behind us. Same license plate as before, same car, color, even the same driver to my eyes. The same thing happened again. The road being bad and bumping the phone down, the aux disconnecting, and the same damn ad playing. All the while, I'm panicking in my head since my sister dismissed my questions like nothing out of the ordinary had happened. We come up to the truck again and I stare, my eyes again having the after image of it. Just as before, I hear metal scraping and feel the airbag pummel my face. As it fades, I'm scared to open my eyes again, but I hear my sister ask, "What is that car doing?" It forces my eyes open to see the same car for the third time, steering into the open desert before halting. I'm in full-blown panic mode as I look ahead to see the crude road up ahead. I hold on to the phone for dear life, and we manage to stop the phone from disconnecting. But we still get an ad when the next song plays. The same damn ad. As it nears its end, I stop myself from looking at the truck and instead look ahead, noticing that the car in the opposite lane is swerving slightly. I piece it together in my head, and I caution my sister of the driver in the car. She has to swerve to avoid the car as it goes on to the wrong side of the road, barely missing our car thanks to my sister's driving. The rest of the trip went on without much of a hitch. My friend said that it may have been something like quantum immortality or a swap between universes. I've always been interested in this stuff, but I have no clue how to explain my experience. And once more, sorry for the long post. I was on my phone watching Instagram Reels and taking it easy on this Wednesday evening when my dorm roommate asked me to make sure that she's up from her nap in 30 minutes. We have finals going on in college, and she's been really stressed and sleep deprived. Anyways, I agreed to do so, and I register the time as 6:18 p.m. when she gets into bed. I continue watching my Instagram reels. One reel is roughly as long as a TikTok, being around 30 seconds to a minute long. About 2 reels later, I happen to glance at the time on the top of my phone screen. I register 6:18 p.m. It should have ideally been 6:20 p.m., but I didn't think of it at all. I usually disassociate while watching reels or TikToks, but around 3 reels later, I glance at the top of my screen to look at the time again. 6:18 p.m. This was when I panicked. 4 or 5 minutes should have passed by now, but my phone still showed 6:18 p.m. I switched my phone off and back on, but that didn't change anything. It was just me, the running air conditioner, and the Instagram reels that were active. I send my boyfriend a text, but it wasn't delivering. I check my laptop at the time, and it also displays 6:18 p.m. I wanted to get up and check out the time on my roommate's phone, but I was too scared to move. My environment just felt weird, but I'm sure that it was all in my head. Soon enough, though, the message to my boyfriend delivered. Instantly, the time was now 6:23 p.m. I could now start hearing my roommate breathe in her sleep, and I realized that the whole time before, I could not hear her breathing. I was also then receiving a message from my friend who was complaining about experiencing acid reflux, and how she can't wrap her head around our project management and contracts final assignment. I felt amazing reading her messages because it all felt so trivial and insignificant to what I thought I had experienced. At around 6:36, though, my roommate's phone started ringing. She wakes up from the nap, speaks on the phone, and disconnects. I ask her if she would like to be up now since that call woke her up. She looked really shocked to see me. She literally asked me twice, "Wait, you're here?" And the whole time I kept thinking, of course, it's my room, and you knew I was here before you went to sleep. But I didn't say much. Why was she so shocked to know that I was in the room? I'm ruling that off as her being slightly disoriented from having woken up after being sleep deprived. I'm trying to rationalize with the situation as much as I can by telling myself that she was sleepy, and that my devices probably glitched. But I don't know entirely. Time freezing, my environment feeling wrong, her just looking shocked to see me, I just don't understand. I had an odd experience this year that could maybe be a glitch. Earlier this year, 2022, my 15-year-old daughter and myself got matching infinity bracelets at a local shop. If you're not familiar with infinity bracelets and anklets, they're a delicate chain that gets soldered onto you, so there's no clasp. The only way to remove it is to break it off. Anyway, we got them together that spring. Midsummer, hers had broken off and she was bummed, but she put it in a safe place until we could make time to go get it reattached. The shop was only open for this type of thing once a week, so it wasn't super convenient to get it done. Fast forward to fall and we finally had a free afternoon to get the bracelet reattached when the shop would be open. She retrieved it from her room and put it in her jacket pocket. Before we could go to the shop, we went to her little brother's flag football game and sat in camp-type chairs on the sideline. She took the bracelet out of her pocket one time during the game and showed it to me, and she then put it back in her pocket. After the game, we were driving her brother home and she realized that the bracelet was gone. We got home, checked her coats, the car, the camp chairs in the back of the car, and nothing. She made a comment about how she kept it safe for months, and then the day we finally have time to fix it, she loses it. For context, my daughter is one of those type A type of humans. who's very neat and organized in most all aspects of her life. So, I do find it unusual that she would lose it, but she is human after all, and accidents happen. We figured that it had to have fallen out at the field. Later that afternoon, I was out running errands solo, and decided to stop by the sports field to retrace our steps. The field had turned over by this point, and there was a new crop of families on the sidelines. I happened to know the family sitting where we were earlier, and they saw me looking around and asked what I was doing. After I explained, they all stood up to help me look. We searched for a few minutes, but nothing. I thanked them and retraced my steps again back to my car. I knew it was a long shot because it was a small gold chain, and I'm sure not easily spotted in the grass. But she was so disappointed that I figured it was worth it to look just in case. About a week later, I saw my daughter's jacket lying around the house, and I decided again to check it over. For context, the jacket isn't a cotton or wool type jacket with a loose weave where the chain could have wriggled into the seam easily. It was a brand new, custom, windproof and waterproof jacket that she had received for her sports crew team for when they're out on the water. The material was tight and slippery, and with it being brand new, it was less likely to have loose seams. But still, maybe there was a small hole or something where the chain could have wriggled. I stuck my hands in the pocket, feeling for a small hole or anything where the bracelet could have gone, and nothing. So, I accepted that it really fell out somewhere, and I just missed it. Weeks go by. My daughter wears the jacket several times, and we move on. One day, I come home, and she says, "I found my bracelet." I say, "What? Where?" And she replies, "You'll never believe this, but I put my hand in my jacket pocket today, and it was right where I had left it." I was really astounded because I myself had thoroughly inspected that coat, and she had worn it multiple times. I want to believe that we just missed it, but we put so much effort into looking for this bracelet that for it to be entirely gone and then entirely there is too weird. Maybe if she'd felt it poking or something and pulled it through some tiny hole or between a seam, but for it to show up in its entirety, it's just so odd. Could she have motive to pretend it was gone and then magically find it? I don't think so. She was so excited to get it fixed, and genuinely so disappointed when we couldn't make that happen. Could she have purchased a new piece of chain to replace it? No, because the way these bracelets are attached, there is a small loop added that is a little bigger than the chain link itself where the jeweler solders it. And her chain didn't break at the loop, it broke in the regular chain link, leaving the loop intact. So she'd have to have a new chain resoldered and break it again along the chain link. Plus, I had already offered to replace it, so it's not like she'd have an incentive to make anything up. She said that it felt like someone borrowed it and then put it back because that's how it wholly disappeared and wholly reappeared. Yesterday, I'm on TikTok and come across a video about a glitch in the Matrix, which I had never heard of, and this incident immediately pops up in my head. In one of the comments, someone mentions this podcast telling stories about glitches, so I listened to an episode, and hearing other stories, it makes me think that this is exactly what happened to us. Side note from Raven here, and Nikki, if you hear this story on either YouTube or Spotify or wherever you listen to my podcast, could you email me and maybe tell me what channel on TikTok that was that you saw that on where they commented about my podcast? Because I might need to go make an account on TikTok and thank them. Because I don't have a TikTok account and I've never posted anything on TikTok, so to have someone over there talking about me is bizarre and kind of cool. So if you could, please, and thank you for the story, it was great. In 2015, The hospital I work for gave all of the employees an appreciation gift. It was a little basket with a pair of cheap sunglasses with green frames, a small bottle of sunscreen, and a note with some goofy saying on it like, "Thanks for shining so bright." The same year, the other hospital in the area gave away identical green sunglasses at a fundraising event, but that hospital had their logo printed on the frames. I assume that both facilities must have found a really great deal on those cheap plastic sunglasses in bulk somewhere. While they were cheap, they were not the type of thing that you would find at any dollar store. They obviously came from some company that sells marketing products. I tend to be rather rough on my belongings, so a cheap, or in this case free, pair of sunglasses is perfect. I can toss them in the passenger seat of my car, sit on them, cram them in the glove box, and not worry. They aren't pretty, but they do the job that they're designed to do, and I literally cannot break these things. The sunglasses usually live in my car. One day, in September of this year, I was distracted when I got home from grocery shopping. When I got out of the car, the shades went on top of my head, and I wore them into the house without realizing it. Once I got the groceries put away, I went to the bedroom to change and realized that my sunglasses were on top of my head. Not wanting to go back out to my car, I took them off and laid them on the dresser, thinking, yeah, I'm really going to remember to grab those next time I go somewhere. I shrugged and went on with my day. The next morning, I was in the kitchen and suddenly noticed my sunglasses sitting on the dining room table. I was confused. I distinctly remembered taking the sunglasses off in the bedroom the day before and laying them on the dresser. I picked up the glasses from the dining table, and they were covered in dust. I walked to my bedroom, and sure enough, sitting there on my dresser were the pair of sunglasses that I had laid there the day before. I checked the sides, thinking maybe I had, at some point, gotten a pair of the competition sunglasses with their logo. That didn't explain why I had only just now found them after 7 years, but it would explain why I had 2 pairs. No logo. I cleaned up the dusty pair, took a picture, and I sent it to my husband. I said, "Some version of me is about to be so mad when she can't find her shades." I put both pairs of glasses in my car, and that was where they stayed. Until November. My husband traded his car for a new car. He was leaving for work one day as I was getting home. As we crossed paths on the driveway, I handed him 1 pair of sunglasses and said, "Put this pair in your car. That way I'll have 1 pair in each vehicle." He took them and said no problem. I watched him get into his car with the sunglasses. I waved as he pulled away. That was the last time I saw the second pair of sunglasses. I've searched his car from top to bottom, and they aren't there. And my husband has no memory of taking them from me. I do wish that I had a pair for both vehicles, but hopefully that other me has her cheap sunglasses back. So, I work at a bar, and I'm the only daytime bartender available on staff at the moment. One of my main jobs is to make sure the liquor and beer is stocked and ready for the dinner rush. When it's slow, I literally fully stock it to the brim as much as possible. I sell 3 beers, and then go get those 3 to replace them. So, it's like 2 p.m., and I notice that we have some holes in the beer stock. I have a slow period, so I write a list. 1 Coors Light, 2 Lager, 1 bottle Well Vodka, 1 bottle Mezcal, 1 bottle Merlot. I take my list upstairs to our stockroom and grab the items. I remember grabbing the Coors Light and commenting to myself, the 24-pack is in a different place than it usually is. Which makes me look at the bottle as I pick it up. I clearly read Coors Light. Okay, cool. I get my items and head back down to the bar to put them in their respective homes. Here's where things get interesting. The missing beer that I wrote down as Coors Light is not missing. The Coors are fully stocked. The Miller Lite next to it, however, is missing one single beer. Okay, no big deal. I must have mistaken the brand. It happens. Instead of going back upstairs to trade beers, I decide to put the Coors Light on the empty bottom shelf and decide to grab a Miller Lite later. So that's what I do. I put a single bottle of Coors Light on the bottom shelf. I close the cooler, and I go about doing some other work for the next shift. About a half hour later, a few of my regulars come in, and I know the one lady likes Bud Light, so I turn around to grab it out of the cooler, and I see the Coors Light on the bottom shelf is different. The Coors Light that I almost dropped on my way down the stairs to place it in its home. The Coors Light that I stared at 3 separate times and made mental notes about is gone. In its place, a bottle of Miller Lite. Miller Lite, not Coors Light. No one was behind my bar but me. I will swear on whatever you want me to, but I am dead certain that beer was a Coors Light. But, sitting in its place on the bottom shelf is a single bottle of Miller Lite. The crazy thing is, today, within the same 4-hour period, 3 separate people in my immediate world have had glitch stories. I was a mild follower before, but now I am 100% convinced that the Matrix glitched today. This probably barely counts, but it's all I have. I wear glasses. I get new glasses from the same optometrist every 2 years after my prescription changes. I am incredibly nearsighted. I get the same frame type since I'm used to it, and I think it looks good. They're usually a rose gold or pinkish metal half frame, with the bottom half of the frames being plastic tubing to hold the lenses in tightly. My last pair were pink with swirling wave-like patterns on the legs of the frames. 2 weeks ago, I misplaced my new glasses. The nose pads were loose and of a firmer plastic than my old ones, so they clicked whenever I adjusted my glasses on my face. The metal was closer to gold than rose gold, and the legs had little square patterns on them, almost like ancient Greek pottery or clothing sometimes has. The ear pads were close to the same color as the metal. I could not find these glasses anywhere. For 2 weeks, I wore my old ones while I looked for my newer glasses. Last night, my mother picked up a pair of glasses that no one in our house recognized. We all wear glasses, but we also all have different prescriptions. My father and brother are just barely nearsighted to the point that their glasses are just for driving and reading, whereas my mother requires trifocals. I do not require trifocals or bifocals just yet. However, I am significantly more nearsighted than my father and brother, with a steep astigmatism that no one else in my family has. Regardless, the mystery glasses frames were a rich rose gold with brown ear pads. The legs were split-shanked at the hinges, with wave patterns further down the leg. I firmly declared that these were not my missing glasses, since the frames looked nothing like my new ones. Everyone tried them on, and the prescription of these mystery glasses only matched mine. Therefore, logically, the glasses must be mine. These mystery frames are the most confirmed glitch that I have ever experienced in my life. The nose pads click whenever the glasses shift or I adjust them. The prescription is undoubtedly mine. However, looking at old selfies, the frames are a different shape. I even took them to my optometrist's office and they confirmed that the prescription is mine but the frames did not come from their office. There's no brand or serial number anywhere on these glasses. Nobody can tell me in the slightest where these frames came from, and I still cannot find the other frames. So, this happened a few days ago on Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, 2022. I posted the longer version in another subreddit, but I was getting ready to go to my friend's for dinner. I was in my bedroom and heard more noise than usual outside, so I went to my window to get a visual on what was happening in the local neighborhood. There was more going on than would be on a typical day, but there's always normal neighborhood things going on, such as people in their yards, kids playing and dogs barking, squirrels, cars going by, etc., etc. There was nothing different in this moment besides the fact that the commotion was amplified. And understandably so, seeing as how this was a holiday. So, I took it in for a few seconds, and then I went to the bathroom. Mind you, I couldn't have been but 2 minutes. I go back to the window, because I needed to close it up before I left for my friend's house, and what I witnessed I don't think I will ever fully comprehend beyond just accepting it as a universal glitch of some sorts, or interference with my conscience. When I went to the window, there literally was nothing going on. Not one person, not one noise, not one car. When I say nothing, I mean that I could feel how silent and still it was, and the atmosphere was very heavy feeling. I stood there, if not out of shock of sorts, for at least 5 minutes, waiting for someone or something or some noise to interrupt this terrifying happening. I finally came to and got my bearings together enough to go downstairs and out the front door to get a better perspective. And this is when my heart skipped probably 5 beats. I opened the door, and literally everything that was present prior to the 7 minutes during the bathroom trip and my experience at the window was again in action. All of my neighbors had at least a car in their driveway, kids were playing, birds were chirping, people out and about and cars were going by. I since then subtly gained some insight on what my neighbors were up to, and every one of them said that they never went anywhere during that time. Between noon and 2 p.m. is what I asked, to try to make it easier for them to remember. But they're not on Reddit, and I can't afford to have them think that I was hallucinating or something. Which I swear that I wasn't. I don't use anything beyond a non-narcotic anxiety medicine called Inderall. So, please, if anyone has any similar experiences they could share for me to compare, or some explanation on what the possibilities could be, I would highly appreciate it if you could comment or send me a DM. This was a couple of years ago now. I was staying at my childhood home right before my mom was going to be moving. I had spent that day helping her pack and going through my childhood things, and was kind of excited to sleep in my childhood bedroom one last time. I was pregnant at the time, so I was struggling to get comfy in bed, and I hadn't slept yet. When it got to be 1 in the morning and I knew that my husband was just getting home from work by then, I decided to just call him briefly to say goodnight, and maybe by then I would be tired enough to just fall asleep. I've always had to pace when I talk on the phone, so I just instinctively started pacing, occasionally passing by my bedroom door. As I was on the phone with him, I saw my mom walk by my bedroom door heading for the bathroom. Same pajamas that she fell asleep in, same curly hair in a ponytail. It was clearly, even in very dim lighting, my mother. I didn't think much of it at first, aside from worrying that I had woken her up. I was all set to apologize for my noise when I realized from where she was, she could not have walked into the bathroom door. She must have walked into the wall next to the door closer to my bedroom. I went silent. My husband still says that he's never had goosebumps the way he did when I went silent. And then I finally spoke. He says it was probably about 2 minutes. As I'd realized that she hadn't been in the pathway to the door, I also started to realize that I could still hear my mother snoring away in the room next to me. I felt frozen with fear, but I slowly left my room, looked towards the bathroom, which was pitch black, and nervously walked to her door. She always kept the door open for her cat to go in and out. There was just enough light from the kitchen area to see into her room. My mom was right there in bed, sound asleep. I quickly got back to my room and tried to find the words to tell my husband what had just happened. I still don't understand why or how. My husband and I have talked about it so many times now, and thinking about that night still gives us chills. It just doesn't make any sense. This is my first time posting in Glitch in the Matrix, although I am an avid reader. I never thought to post the odd things that occurred in my life, but things have gotten very weird, especially after I graduated in 2012. Since then, it's just gotten weirder and weirder, slowly but surely. I've began to question the very fabric of this thing that we call reality. This year has been the 1 year that made my decision final. This is all either an illusion, a dream, or a simulation. It's the little things. So, first weird thing, I drive tractor trailers for a living. So, besides seeing an insane amount of license plates that say 555 or 999 or all the other damn numbers, I've noticed this odd phenomenon. I'll be driving, and since I look at all the cars driving past me, I'll notice vanity plates. So I'll make one name up because I don't remember exactly what it said. Let's say on my left on 95 South, I see a plate that says, "Got Boost." Okay, so that car drove by going about 80 miles per hour. My car stops at and is governed for max 65 miles per hour. I watch this car fly up the highway, and that's it. It's gone. As I continue to drive, I'll look to my left, just miles up the highway, and I'll see the same scene again. Like it's a replay, or the simulation ran out of cars. I'll see "Got Boost" drive by in the same way that it did previously. So at first I'm like, okay, I watched that car vanish up the highway. How did it pass me again? Sure, anyone can say that maybe they stopped, but this section of 95 has no truck stops. And the distance I traveled wasn't enough for it to hop off the highway and hop back on. As the sun was coming up, I looked down at my speedometer for a second. In the top of my vision, my peripheral vision, I watched the car in the distance literally vanish out of thin air. As I see this, I go, "What the hell?" And I look up before my eyes and the car reappears. I just say, "I knew it. This is a hologram or a simulation." Then, as I say that, 3 cars pass by on my right, and all of their license plates say 444. So I'm just like, dude, what the hell? I look at my speedometer, and the last 3 mileage numbers say 444. At this point, I'm really bugging out. What are the chances? Slim to none. 1 in a million. This reality cannot be real. I think that we create it as some sort of mental projection. almost 2 years ago, my wife and I took an 8-hour road trip to the desert to celebrate my birthday. Both of us were heavy smokers, and as a birthday gift to myself, I decided to quit. She wasn't as stoked as I was, but since it was my birthday trip, she agreed to let me hog the stereo on the way home so I could listen to an audiobook called Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr. The thing about this book is that the reader is encouraged to smoke while they read, or in my case, listen to the book, and only decide if they want to quit after they have finished. So, we're driving and smoking, and listening to this book while driving through the mountains of northern Arizona, when we both hear a loud bang. At the same time, I feel something hit my chest, followed by my left pec muscle getting really cold. I look down and see a puff of smoke coming from the left pocket of the flannel shirt that I was wearing at the time. I was 100% sure that I had been shot, so I instinctively put my head under the shirt expecting to feel a bloody hole. But there was nothing there, just a cold patch of skin. So I felt around in the pocket of my shirt and pulled out a bunch of sharp plastic pieces. It took a few seconds to make sense of what had happened. The lighter that I was carrying in the pocket had, for no apparent reason, exploded. The cold feeling came from the butane escaping, which I had mistaken for smoke. I had smoked for over 20 years and had never had a lighter spontaneously combust like that. My wife had never experienced it either, and the fact that it happened while listening to a book about not smoking anymore, at the exact second I was thinking about lighting up another one, makes the whole thing feel a little more like a miracle. Before you ask, this wasn't a high-quality disposable lighter like a Bic. This was one of those transparent plastic ones you buy for 89 cents at the gas station. And I had probably used it to open several beers that weekend, so its structural integrity could have been questionable. Still, the timing was pretty incredible. Also, while we continued to smoke for the rest of the drive, we finished the book about the same time we rolled into our driveway, and neither one of us have had a cigarette since. One day, while sleeping as I work nights, I had a dream. In this dream, I decided to go out to my backyard and look at the stars. While standing there looking up, everything went black, like someone had flipped a light switch off. Everything was pitch black and I could not see anything. In the dream, I decided to drop to the ground and roll towards my house. I ended up stopping against the outside wall, and I closed my eyes tightly for a while. Upon opening them in the dream, I began to realize that everything had returned to normal. Upon awakening, everything seemed so off. It just did not feel right. Nothing changed visually that I could see, though. And this was about the time that I had discovered the Mandela effect. My wife divorced me, and I lost my mother. It took me a good while to adjust. Thank you for letting me share my story. So, I was going to radiation therapy, where my appointment time changed daily. The center gave me a lanyard with a little plastic thing attached that had a weekly time schedule in it. I was also taking a shuttle to get to my appointments, so I kept a pen in my lanyard/schedule so I could write down what time my shuttle driver was coming every day, and that I wouldn't forget the next day. Sometimes when the technicians would write the time for my next appointment on my lanyard or schedule, they would accidentally keep my pen. But I had a green pen and I always got it back, even if it was the next day sometimes. One day, as I was finishing up my treatment, I was walking down the hallway and I looked to see what time they wrote in the schedule for my next appointment. I noticed my time was written in the same ink as my green pen, but there was no pen in my lanyard schedule. They had taken my pen again, so I went back to get it. None of them were in the room and I couldn't find my pen, so I took another pen that was a company pen for the radiation company. I looked at the pen a bit, and I put it in my lanyard. I walked down the hallway feeling slightly guilty for stealing their pen, but I justified it to myself that they had my green pen to write with. I told myself I would switch the pens tomorrow if the green pen was still there. I went down the hallway again, and I stopped to weigh myself on the scale. I put my lanyard down at the nurse's station so it wouldn't weigh anything while I weighed myself. The nurses knew I did this every time my treatment was over, and they always greeted me with a smile and a wave, and they never touched my stuff. After that, I grabbed the lanyard and got into the shuttle. The driver was talking about what time he was going to pick me up the next day, so I grabbed my pen to write it down. I was shocked. The brown company pen was no longer there, but my usual green pen was there. The one that the technicians had accidentally stolen. But then, what happened to the company pen? This might seem ridiculous, but it is true. I have to commute to the office a few times a week, but for the majority of the time, I telework from home. A few weeks ago, I stopped by the bagel place on my way to the office. I ordered the bagel and stuffed it into my backpack with the thought that I would eat it when I got to the office. When I arrived, the bagel was gone. I emptied my backpack and thoroughly searched, but no bagel. I emptied it several times over the course of a few weeks as well. I assumed that I ate it and forgot, but that never really satisfied me. I knew that I had not eaten it. I used the backpack for several weeks, each time checking it for it since it was always nagging in the back of my mind. I emptied and searched the backpack several times over those weeks. Then, a few days ago, it appeared back inside of my backpack, just sitting there in plain view at the bottom. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not in there before. It wasn't fresh exactly, but it didn't seem like it had been sitting in the backpack for 3 weeks. Maybe a day or two tops. I have absolutely no idea how to explain this properly. The most mundane explanation would be that someone is just messing with me, but that person would both need access to the backpack after I put the bagel in there, at the bagel place, as well as at my home. Not even my partner was around for the first part. The other explanation is that it was in there the whole time and I just missed it. But I emptied and used the backpack for weeks, and I absolutely would have seen it. Plus, the bagel was still semi-fresh when it reappeared. It only seemed a couple of days old, nowhere near 3 weeks old. Maybe this is too mundane for a glitch in the Matrix moment, but I honestly think it might qualify. I really cannot explain this properly, and apologies if this doesn't make the cut for this sub, but on the surface, it seems to. Okay, first big one in a while. I have 2 metal gates for climbing vines. About 3 foot tall, thinner at the bottom, about a foot, spreads to top maybe 1.5 feet. Vertical, they're 5 thin metal bars, horizontal 4 bars, and the ground one is flat. The other 3 are curved and all 4 connect the vertical bars. Bars are a few millimeters thick. Yes, I'm American, hence the blend of scales. They are turquoise-ish. I repurposed them as sidewalk sides to stand on either side of my walkway to show where to snowblow in the winter, for the HOA people. So, the second one that I set up had a reddish-brown 3/4 inch thick vine, about 1.5 feet long, wrapped around it, with little fiddly tendril bits. It sat out there for weeks like that. Finally, I decided to remove it. I untangled it and snipped sections with an electrical pliers as I did. I cleaned it all up, all the little fiddly bits. Both are perfectly clean and like new and framing my walkway. The next few weeks, I would constantly sit outside on my porch staring at them as the weather was nice. Suddenly, around November 28th of this year, I got up in the morning. I opened my curtains, and immediately my eyes are drawn to the gate that had the big reddish vine previously. It now has a 1.5 foot long old dried piece of gray vine on it. I did a quadruple take, threw on my sneakers, and headed outside. An old dry vine segment appeared on this gate after being meticulously cleaned for 2 weeks. It's gray, about 4 millimeters in width, and about 1.5 feet long. I'm not prone to delusion and am often accused of being hyper-aware of everything. This vine was not in the universe that I inhabited for at least the last month. I live alone, so I can't ask if anyone else noticed. So, hi, new universe. I hope that this one is better than the last one that I lived in. May your glitches be in your favor, and thanks for letting me share. So, my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, shared a room in an apartment with my other 3 roommates. We got a new puppy, and like any puppy would do, he ended up chewing up a lot of things we left out, such as MacBook charging cords, Roku remotes, blow dryer cords, etc. Well, we left one night and left our dog to roam around the apartment since my roommates were there to watch over him. We got back, and when I went to the restroom, I immediately got upset because I saw that my electric razor, Phillips 1 blade, was on the floor and chewed up. Specifically the top of it where it can detach. My girlfriend and I argued about it, and I ended up throwing it away in the trash. Both the top retractable part and the other part since it had dog teeth marks on it. I ended up getting over it because of how cute our puppy was, and forgot about it. About 3 days later, I woke up and went to brush my teeth, and while getting my hairbrush out of the drawer, I found my electric razor. We took out the trash 2 days before this, and my girlfriend and I didn't even leave each other's side. I thanked her for buying me a new one, and she laughed and said it wasn't her. We kind of just blamed each other for buying it, and only talked about it from time to joke about how we still won't tell each other the truth. Well, tonight, 3 years later, I started thinking about how weird that was. So I texted my now wife, and told her to tell me the truth and be dead serious about it. She replied with, "Honest to God, I thought you bought it for yourself and joked about it." I'm not sure what to make of it. There was no new plastic wrapping for it in the trash, and my roommates had nothing to do with it. Since we were all in college, they were definitely not about to spend $60 on me as a joke. I'm not sure if this counts as a glitch in the Matrix, but it still confuses me to this day. Any ideas on how this happened? I'm on holiday break from school right now, and my sleeping habits have become terrible. Usually nowadays, I sleep around 5 in the morning and get woken up at 2 p.m. by my mother. So, today, I was woken up by her and I was feeling super tired. Growing more and more tired as I ate lunch and got onto my computer. As I browsed the internet, I remember my sister having a friend dressed in red. I don't remember what she was wearing exactly, but she came over. I remember my friend asking if I wanted to play a game together. I declined, and went into my room to browse Reddit for a while before reading a book that I've never read before. And then, I was woken up in my bed, and it was 6:30 p.m. I don't remember how this happened, but my mother was shaking me awake, telling me that it was 6:30. She had never let me sleep past 2 p.m. before, and I was stunned that she had let me sleep in like this. I didn't say anything to her, thinking that she felt I needed the rest and that it had all been a hyper-realistic dream. But then I opened my phone. My friend had asked me if I wanted to game with the exact message I thought I had dreamt 2 hours ago. This time, I had it unanswered as I was supposedly sleeping when this was sent. I left my room, and my sister's friend was outside in a red dress. The book that I was reading was also displaced, lying on my bedside table, but I don't remember the story that I was reading. I still don't really process how this happened, and I'm pretty freaked out about all of it. I don't even feel well rested, as though I had never even slept. This is my first post to this sub and the first time anything like this has ever happened to me. This stuff is scary. And I'm sorry for ever ridiculing anyone's post or thinking they were fake in the past. So, I've experienced a few glitches throughout my life. Definitely rare, but they've been there. Another one happened the other day, and this was probably the closest thing I've personally experienced to something resembling an actual glitch. My partner and I were out with a group of friends at a beach bonfire one night. A small group of around 8 to 10 people. My partner and I both don't drink, so we hadn't been drinking or smoking, etc. At some point, my partner is watching the fire. I then do the same. Then, after watching it for a bit, the embers from the fire quite literally glitch. The best way I can describe it is, it was as if the embers were a video file that suddenly skipped back a half second. Now, a half second doesn't seem like much, but when it comes to the intricacies in the detail of a fire and how fast it naturally moves, it's definitely enough to notice. The embers, all at once, were simply not in the locations that they just were, and skipped a half second back to continue on their exact same path. I noticed this right away, and I personally don't see how this could be a trick of the light or fire, because all of the embers disappeared from their original position and immediately reappeared at their previous position. So, here's the kicker. I noticed this, I'm weirded out by it, not freaked out personally. I've definitely come to terms with the possibility of existence being some type of simulation thing, but then I look over to my partner, who has quite the concerned look on their face. I straight up ask them, "Did the fire just glitch?" To which their response was, "Yep." We continued on in the night and didn't pay much attention to it overall, but did talk about it later with each other just to confirm what we both saw. Honestly, it felt like it was a video game asset that got put on a loop to save memory or something. This is a smallish glitch compared to what I've seen posted, but I thought I would share anyways. This actually happened a couple of days ago, but I kept forgetting to post it until now. So, I'm at work all day, typical 8 to 5 shift, and around 3:30 to 4 p.m., I hear a thunderclap. I knew that rain was in the forecast, so I initially didn't think much of it. But as the end of my shift progressed, I noticed that I never heard any more thunder and never saw any rain out of my office window. Also of note, I used the My Radar Pro app on my phone, and it never showed any storm clouds over my area. So, here's the glitch. When work was over for the day, I walked to my truck to leave and noticed that my coworkers' vehicles on each side of mine had rain on them. It was beaded up on the windows and front hood, but mine was completely dry all over. When I backed out of the parking spot, it even showed wet and dry spots that would line up with it raining, as my truck had kept the pavement underneath it dry. I don't get how my truck stayed dry if it rained, or how I didn't ever actually see any rain from my office window. It's like my truck glitched with me, I guess. Anyway, weird stuff, right? Once when I was a kid, I was at my aunt's house and she had a covered parking area without walls. Not really a garage, just a place with a roof to park. And I remember one time rain was falling on one side of it, but not the other. And that is easily explained by the end of the rain cloud lining up just right, but I don't see how something could drench the cars on both sides of mine while keeping mine dry. So, that was this week's Glitch in the Matrix collection. Nearly an hour of new glitch stories for the channel. You may be asking yourself, Raven, why is this video an hour almost? Why is it 50 some odd minutes? There's a reason for that. This is the last new glitch collection of 2022. So, I thought, why not make it a long one? I don't know. I thought it'd be a good idea. If it wasn't a good idea, well, I'm sorry. I did what I thought would be best for us. No, seriously, though, it's the last new glitch collection of 2022. Next week will be the best of 2022, and then we'll start off the year with a glitch collection, of course. So hopefully that goes off without a hitch. Hopefully everything goes well. And hopefully you all enjoy the best of 2022. I'm going to go through each one of my glitch videos and probably choose one story. Maybe two if it was a really, really good video, if I had a really good collection. Not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but it will be a compilation, of course. And yeah, it'll be a good one, I promise. I promise you guys will love it. I promise. Anyways, if you liked this video and would like more like this, please consider liking the video. That was a lot of liking. Hit the thumbs up button. That tells me that you enjoyed the video. Or you can hit the thumbs down button if you didn't like it. That's at your discretion. If you're new to the channel and really liked what you heard, you can subscribe, and that will tell me that you really liked this video and want more like it. I do these weekly, so yeah. There's also super chats, super thanks, memberships, Patreon, where you get early access to content like this, as long as I get it done early, which I try to. I'm decent with it, I'm not the best, I'm sorry if I suck at it, but I try. Anyways, yeah. There's also one more thing you can do, and that is the word of the week. Now, on the screen at this moment in time, and hopefully for several moments, is a visual of all the comments that were left last week with the word of the week, which was gradual. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have left me a word of the week this year, especially on this video, the last video, I suppose, but just especially really this year, because we've had a lot of fun with it. It's been a good time. We've gone through the whole alphabet. We've gone partially through the alphabet a second time. And since next week is a compilation, there will not be a word of the week. So here's what we're going to do in lieu of you leaving me a sentence with a single word as the focal point. And this will go up in the video. I promise you that. This will probably go up in the first video in January, so you have 2 weeks to do it. What I want you to do is leave me a comment, not with a specific word, but with your hopes for 2023. What do you want to see happen in 2023? It can be anything, as long as it's not political. You know how this channel is. We're apolitical. We don't get into that stuff. So anything that you want to happen in 2023, put it in a comment, and it will be on the video for the beginning of the year. Consider this like us manifesting a positive start to 2023. I think that's a good idea. Manifesting positivity is important. Some of you may not believe in manifesting our destiny, and that's fine. And I don't know if I really do, so, it is what it is, but if nothing else, we can start the next year with a goal in mind and our mind focused on something optimistic. And let me tell you, friends, good things happen if we keep that positive mental attitude and we attempt to manifest positive things. If not through wishing for them to happen, then through our actions, through acting on these positive mental attitudes, these acting on this wanting something good. So let's do that. Let's do that. So again, leave me just a comment telling me what you want to happen in 2023, and it will be in the first glitch video of 2023. I'm going to wrap this up now. My friends, I hope you remember you're loved, you're important, you're valid, you're the best you that you can be. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. And until I see you again, friends, much love and sleep well.